Mateus, you lie down. All the side pins that we've been escaping from had one commonality. The opponent was on 2 knees. So regardless of the manner in which he held us and the manner in which we escaped, he was always here on 2 knees. Okay. Now, in my opinion, staying on 2 knees like this is the most stable, the most versatile, and the most effective way of holding people in side pins. But it's not the only way. And there's plenty of people, and for good reasons, often change their base of support and engage in what often is referred to as a sit out or a sit through in order to change their hip positioning. And this can be a very good tactic on the part of the guy on top, and the man on bottom must understand how to deal with this, because it does change the nature of the escape slightly. So if Mateus is holding bottom position in here, I don't have to stay on my knees. This is one good option. In my opinion, it's actually the best option. It's the most stable and the most versatile. But a good thing for many of your opponents will be to sit their body through. And from here, they go into a position, Kazur Kizugatame, okay, or is often referred to as a sit out or a sit through in the United States. From here, they have an underhook. They're not naive. They're not coming through into a true Kizugatame here, where there's a danger of back exposure, etc., etc. This is a very good pinning position if you only have to hold for short periods of time and you're only interested in pinning people. People tend to dismiss this position. They're a little unfair in that dismissal. This can be a very strong pinning position. It's not a bad submission position either. There's some good submissions out of here. It tends to get dismissed a little bit in the Jiu-Jitsu community, but it's a popular part of judo and a popular part of wrestling for a reason. It is an effective method of pinning. However, it does come at a price if you have 2 athletes the same size and same skill level of back exposure. It's not seen much in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu for that reason, because we have to be able to hold pins for very long periods of time and submit people from them and transition to other pins. But if you were just interested in holding someone for a few seconds, or in the case of judo for 20 to 25 seconds, this can be a very effective pinning method. However, a much more widely seen method in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu, because it doesn't involve back exposure, is the Kazura Kizugatame, okay, or broken scarf hold, where I work with an underhook instead of a headlock. And truth be told, I do greatly prefer this in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu over the classic Kizugatame. Okay? So the Kazura Kizugatame, or sit out as it's often referred to in America, is a very, very strong form of pinning. We've got to know how to get out of here, because now my opponent's hip position has changed. Instead of being here on 2 knees, my opponent has sit through and come into this very strong position. Now understand that the strength of this position is largely bound up with the control of this elbow. Okay, the more I elevate this elbow, the stronger the control that I have. The more Mateus can pull his elbow down towards the floor, the less control that I have. And if I felt Mateus's elbow coming down here, it would probably be wise for me now to return back to my knees and work with a more conventional side pin. Okay, so how are we going to deal with this sit out? Let's look now at some good options for dealing with sit-out side pins. We'll have Mateus out to our side here. We saw that whenever someone elects to sit out, the primary concern that we have is the position of our elbow. There's a direct contest here. Mateus wants my elbow close to his left hip, and I want my elbow close to his right hip. And who wins that battle between right hip and left hip is the guy who's going to win this pin situation. So, a natural question to ask is, how do we win this? First method, anticipation. Mateus, start on 2 knees. If I know Mateus is a fellow who likes to transition from a situation on 2 knees to a sit out, I'm going to anticipate that, and I'm going to make damn sure that my elbow goes in the preferred position, down by my opponent's bottom hip instead of his top hip. Okay, what he wants is to sit out and drag my elbow to his top hip, and from here the skates can be quite difficult. So what I want to make sure is, as I see my opponent switch from a crossface to my elbow. I know what's coming next. That's the giveaway. Go back. Here, he's got his crossface in place. Okay? If he reaches for my elbow, 3 guesses what's coming next. The only thing that really makes sense now is a sit-out. And if he connects my elbow to his top hip, it's a problem. So, as soon as I see Mateus release his crossface, my first thing here is always to take my elbow down to the mat. Now when Mateus sits through, my elbow goes to his bottom hip instead of the top hip. Exactly what I wanted. In addition, my opponent's head position has changed, and there's no reason now why I can't bring my hand across to my training partner's chest, because the distance between his head and my head is now much greater. Come back. Here, if my opponent's head is in position, it can be very difficult to get my hand in as a blocker. But the moment Mateus sits through, it becomes very easy now to get a forearm across the chest. So I've got my right elbow in good position and my left forearm in good position. As Mateus goes to hold me down in this situation, we're going to focus on shrimping our hips away from our opponent. And as a result, it becomes very easy for us to form the fundamental V-shaped frame, which is the basis of all success in getting out of side pins and indeed many other pins. As Mateus tries to hold me in place now, it's so difficult for him to prevent the extension of my body, which will ultimately align us and create a situation where we can go back into the safety of guard. Once again, the first method, anticipation. When my opponent's on 2 knees and goes to grab my elbow, it's no secret what's coming next. As soon as Mateus makes his sit-through attempt, we put the elbow down here at the hip. We're aiming for our elbow at his bottom hip. He's aiming the elbow to the top hip. That's very much in his best interest and very much in my worst interests. So we always want the elbow down there at the bottom hip. Now, we're going to bring our second hand here across the chest. And we're going to engage in a shrimping action, where I take my foot, 1, 2, 3, and move out. When Mateus tries to follow me, my elbow makes it very, very difficult. And I'll always be able to move away faster than Mateus can move towards me. And as a result, we can quickly go to put our opponent back in guard. The key, as always, is to create a frame that I can move behind, and my opponent can't follow my movement. What I don't want is Mateus having direct contact to my body. As he comes out, he currently has direct chest to chest and hip to chest contact. That's great for him and terrible for me. Going back. So as soon as I see him grab the elbow, he goes to sit out. Now he has contact not chest to chest and hip to chest, but his hip to my elbow and his chest to my forearm. So the contact is not directly on me, it's on my frames. And as a result, I can shrimp away from him. When he tries to follow, my elbows make it so difficult. When I finally join knee and elbow, it's actually impossible from now to get any kind of effective contact. And from here, we have many ways to go on the attack, counter offense, etc., etc. This is an extremely effective way of countering this sit-out form of side pin.